Today I've come to the small village of Heanton, Punchardon in North Devon, just outside Braunton and 4 or 5 miles from the town of Barnstable. There are some magnificent views over the countryside here. This is looking southwards over the Tor estuary. You can see the river in the distance, and the green area in front of that is what used to be RAF Chivenor. RAF Chivenor is now a marine base, so no aircraft flying in and out. And then those white buildings over there are a chemical factory, and you're looking in the distance to the North Devon coast. A little further round we're looking across towards Saunton Sands and over the small town of Braunton. It really is wonderful countryside here in North Devon. I'll just give you a little bit more of a close-up of what used to be RAF Chivenor. This is the parish church in Heanton, Punchardon, St. Augustine's. Parts of this church date right back to the 13th century. There is a graveyard associated with the church, and a special area we'll come to in a minute, which has quite a number of Commonwealth war graves because of its association with RAF Chivenor. I'll just pick a few of the graves as I walk through the area. This is Elizabeth, the wife of John Maddox, and she died in 1901. And Rachel N. Williams, the daughter of the above. No mention of John Maddox in that grave. But I notice next door, John Maddox died 1890, aged 71. So he has his own separate memorial stone from his wife and daughter. One of the first stones we come across in the graveyard, John, beloved son of Joseph and Elizabeth Tucker, who was accidentally killed, 1908, aged 23. And then we have his brother, late of HMS Victory, who died at Gosport in 1915, aged 17. This one's tilting to the side to quite a degree, and it's for Mary Clark, 1892, aged 76, and then Thomas Clark, who died 10 years later in 1902, aged 83. John, the beloved son of William and Bessie E. Ridge, who was aged 14 when he died in 1917. And then Bessie died in 1945, and William in 1957, some 40 years after the death of his son John. Over on the side of the graveyard is an old cross, very worn. These were positioned in places of importance, at crossroads and so on in various villages and lanes. Many of them date back many centuries. This could be 1,000 years old. But it's been repositioned here in the graveyard, surviving, just about recognisable for what it was. A very clear inscription for John Crick, 1873, just 33. And Nicholas John Crick, 1968, age 58. And a couple of names below that. This is a much older memorial and done in a beautiful script. Jane, the wife of John Rogers, who departed this life 8th day of June 1837, aged 47 years. Remember, O man, as you pass by, as you are now, so once was I. As I am now, so you will be, therefore prepare to follow me. We've heard that one a few times. Another clear inscription for George Pedrick, 1879, age 51. Mary Ann, his daughter, 1856, age 1 year and 10 months. And no mention of his wife. Perhaps if his wife was the last living member of the family, there was no one to ensure the inscription was added to this memorial. There's no name on this stone, but it reads, "No sin could blight nor sorrow fade. Death came with friendly care. Those opening buds to heaven conveyed, and bid them blossom here. In love we lived, in peace we died. Life we desired, but God denied. If love or care could death prevent, our days would not so soon be spent." Elizabeth Henwood, late of Barnstable. That's just 3 or 4 miles away from here. November the 12th, 1848, age 73 years. Reader, prepare to meet thy God. Leaning up against the wall of the church are 2 more. Christopher Galliford, 1851, aged 81. Then Annie's wife and William, their son. And on the right we have James Watts, 1849, aged 65. Annie's wife. And then William Watts, probably a son beneath that. Nearby is this one. It tells a story in memory of William, the son of Francis and Mary Drake, who died by a fall near the Cape of Good Hope, 1860, age 20. And then we've got Charles, I assume his brother, who died age 17. And then at the very bottom we have Robert, the above, who died in 1868, age 19. I am not quite sure how that works out. I think we've got 3 sons there. William, Charles and Robert. Well, the church is open, so we'll have a look inside. But note, as is quite common in these churches, the sundial above the door. It's even got a coat of arms at the top there. And just look at this inner wooden door, the character, the age in it. And this is the inside of that door, including the old wooden lock. Inside, the church is very clean, well maintained. Not so many memorials on the wall, but let's have a wander around and see what we can observe. Up at the very front of the church is this remains of a very large memorial. One suspects in that area there would have been an effigy of the person it commemorates, but that seems to be missing. High on the wall there will be an inscription in there. There are 2 cherubs at the top and cherubs all the way round and a skull at the bottom. But I'm not sure anyone's going to be able to read what it says there. And high on the wall, just to the right of that, is this memorial. Again, from the ground here, I can't read that. It may be with a camera will show you a little more than I can tell from here. This one is now hidden. It's in the area behind the organ. And I've had to go through some curtains to get to it. But a very ornate memorial. I think it's Barrett Arthur. Again, the camera will do a better job than I can do from the ground level. And on the end wall in this hidden area are three more, or probably three of the best memorials in the church. But there's very little light here. I'm going to give you a close-up of each one. We've got a lady in prayer here. And there is an inscription below, but I can't read that. And then across to the right, there is this one. Let me move out a little bit on that. And then further right, this one with a clear coat of arms at the top. And again, an inscription which you'll probably read better on the camera than I can from the ground. If you come to this church, those memorials, the best in the church, are hidden in this curtained area, which is actually the back of the organ. Well, outside the church there are more of these stones leant against the walls of the building. I'll just show you this one because it's a little bit sad. This one is Betsy Galliford, who departed this life after many years of painful suffering. 1823, aged 84. Poor old Betsy. Now, the reason I've come here today, apart from the stunning views, is the fact it has a very large number of war graves. And this is because of its association with RAF Chevener in the valley below. Now, of course, almost all the graves are for the RAF, but they're not all for British people. There are 4 in this row for members of the Canadian Air Force. Just picking one of them, Warrant Officer 1, First Class, G.W. Munch, a pilot, Royal Canadian Air Force, 1943, age 26. In the row behind those 4, I see quite a number of members of the Canadian Air Force. All these ones in the front row here are Canadian. Such a long way from home. And this is interesting. This is Italian. Soldier Benedetto Frascarelli. In NATO 1919. I think I was born and deceased in 1945. And yet your history tells you that the Italians weren't particularly friendly to the British. But here we have an Italian commemorated here with the rest of the war memorials. And a row or so further back, I have quite a number of Australian Air Force commemorated. Let me just look at 2 of them. Flight Sergeant P.C. Bartle, Royal Australian Air Force, 1943, age 29. The next one along, Flight Sergeant J.S. Walker, Wireless Operator Air Gunner, Royal Air Force, 1943, age 25. In fact, those 2 stones are just 3 days apart. 24th of August, 27th of August. This one to Flying Officer E.A. Blair, a pilot, Royal New Zealand Air Force, 1942, age 28. There are 5 memorials with the different shaped stone, denoting another nationality. This is Miroslav Sigler, Flight Lieutenant in the Royal Air Force, 1913 to 1942. I can't tell you what nationality that stone is. I've looked on all 5 and it's not clear. Maybe Polish, maybe Slavic. This one is to Sergeant E.H. Morrison of South Africa, pilot, Royal Air Force. And we got the Cross of St. David at the bottom there, the Hebrew cross. And so you don't get the impression that it's all about overseas people in this graveyard. At least half of them are British serving men. This is Wing Commander J.S. Kendrick, pilot, Royal Air Force, 1942, age 31. And this one's Pilot Officer F.C. Le Bon, Air Gunner, Royal Air Force, 1942, age 26. I've walked along all the rows of memorials. Probably the largest number are for British men, but closely followed by the Canadians. There are a lot of Canadian Air Force people buried here, and the Australians, 2, 3 New Zealanders. Amazing. Further back are some more modern stones, but even amongst those we find commemorated people from the forces. Well, this is a very special graveyard because of all the war graves, those men who gave their lives and were connected with the RAF base here at Chivenna. I'll leave you with the parting shots of the memorials, and then as I pan slowly left you'll see a view across the valley and to where RAF Chivenna was. It's a very beautiful area, a lovely place to come and visit. That's what's left now of RAF Chivenna, where all those men would have been based. Till the next time.